is here to cross off the only current thing on his last bucket list. And his name is Randy Aoyama.
Thank you very much. Really excited to be here. I'm also a bit nervous, like probably all those folks, but I've never done anything like this before, and but what you all are witnessing is the birth of my new career. I'm going to do this because my current occupation, is can be very repetitive, monotonous, and sometimes very stressful. You see, I'm a trophy husband. That's right. And I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed. You want to know why? Because it's hard work. Do you realize the effort it takes to maintain this? Sometimes I have to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a month. And it's not just the physical stuff. I mean, you realize how long it took me to pick out this shirt at Target? We trophy husbands, we have the weight of the world on our shoulders. But I have one goal. And that goal is that when I'm, on my wife's arm, out in public, I want her to be able to turn her head, look down at me, and feel proud. Okay, I'm joking. I'm not really a trophy husband, and in fact, my wife is much more attractive than me. And the reason why I know this is because everybody tells me that. All the time. My friends, they often tell me, boy, Randy, you really married up. Married up. Any husbands out there been told that they've married up? You, sir, you must have been told that, right? But I really can't blame my friends because they saw me growing up and I was really an awkward kid, right? I got so nervous around girls, I couldn't really talk to them. It was a phase. We all go through it, right? For me, it started about 4th or 5th grade and finally ended about last week. Actually, in junior high school is when I first started having crushes on girls, and around that same time, they also started having school dances. So I thought to myself, well, if I can't talk to girls, maybe I can impress them with my moves. Dancing to impress the ladies, that was my idiotic 7th grade plan. But I gave it a shot. So the first dance that I learned, or tried to learn, was the moonwalk. Did anybody remember the moonwalk? So I was at the dance with this girl, and I was like, I'm going to bust a move, watch. Yeah, that didn't work so well. A little bit later, there's this dance called bopping that came out, and you'll probably recognize it. But again, I was on the dance floor with a girl, and I was, I decided to try it, and I was like, no reaction. Actually, a little bit later, there's a dance that came out called the Running Man, and it was actually not that difficult to learn. So I thought I struck gold. The Fresh Prince was doing it on TV. So I got it down, and at the next dance, I was like, I don't even need a partner. I'm just going to jump into this crowd. Hey, where'd everybody go? So I knew then that dancing was out, so I decided, well, I'm going to switch to sports, because I've always played, and I thought that might help me. And I remember it was my first day of high school. And the various coaches were walking around and talking to the new kids and basically recruiting. So my buddy Paul, he's a really tall and lean guy, and the basketball coach came up to him. My friends Jason and Vince were big, strong guys. So the football coach, approached them and struck up a conversation. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there, feeling like I'm back at a junior high school dance. But finally, a coach comes up to me, and his name was Mr. Chang. And I thought that he was the tennis coach because he was wearing Nikes, and back then I looked like a Japanese Andre Agassi. Turns out, Mr. Chang was the coach of the math team. And I was horrible at math, but you really couldn't blame Mr. Chang because back then, that was the stereotype, right? And it was also a big source of shame for me because I was bad at math. And so you realize what it was like being a chubby Asian kid, got the thick black glasses, you're a freshman in high school, and you're walking around trying to hide the fact that you don't even know how to do calculus. How shameful is that? So, and so that got me thinking, like, what are the stereotypes of today? What are groups currently struggling with? And I thought, well, what if you're East Indian and you don't know how to spell? Or what if you drive a BMW and you're not a complete asshole? Or what if you're a white person? Awkward silence. I'm gonna go there just for a minute. What if you're a white person and you don't give a crap about Game of Thrones? How crazy would that be, right? You're sitting at a party, trying to fake it, but people are advancing on you like White Walkers, the Battle of Winterfell, and you're just trying to fend them off. You're like, Hodor, Hodor. I mean, seriously, do you know any white people that aren't still bitching about how Game of Thrones ended? They're like, Bronn the Broken? Really? Another stereotype involves my wife. You see, she commutes a long ways to work, and she's actually been in 3 car accidents in the past 2 years. And each of these accidents is the same. She's stopped for traffic, gets hit from behind, stops for traffic, gets hit from behind, stops for traffic, gets hit from behind. Problem is, my wife's Asian. She's an Asian woman driver. So, of course, she gets cited for all the accidents for stopping too abruptly. 3 accidents, 2 years. On a somewhat related note, I've had 2 birthdays in those 2 years. So I guess you could say, doing the math, that my wife has been rear-ended 5 times in the past 2 years. Maybe I am a trophy husband. No, I gotta tell you, my wife really, really hates that joke, especially when I tell her at Thanksgiving. In college, I kind of finally realized one thing. If I was gonna be ugly, I better be funny, right? It works in all on the entertainment side. It works for King of Queens. It worked for Ray Romano. It worked for Roger Rabbit. And the flip side of that is that, handsome men are never funny, right? They have no material. They've never had a single hardship in their entire life. So they have no material, but they still get the women, right? Handsome men get all the women. Tom Cruise gets all the women. And most of the men, too. The examples are everywhere, right? George Clooney, boring. Denzel Washington, snooze fest. Chris Rock, hilarious. One guy who gets away with stuff is Brad Pitt, right? Brad was married to Jennifer Aniston, but that wasn't good enough for him. So he cheated on Jennifer with, that's right, Angelina Jolie, right? And let that soak in. Brad was married to Rachel from Friends. And he wasn't satisfied. He still decided to make the move on the Tomb Raider. And Angelina, she knew that Brad was married. She could have had any single guy she wanted. She could have had me. But no, Brad was too dreamy. And actually, I read an article about it. What happened is they met on the set of a movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and that's when the sparks started flying. And there was actually a crew member that was there and saw the initial interaction between them and when the start of it all. So basically what happened was Brad, he walked over to Angelina, and this is true, he said, "Hey, Angelina, check this out." Thank you very much. Appreciate it.